While our next speaker is coming up, we have Trevor Harmon, who is with Shopify. So you guys can connect later. Perfect timing. So Trevor's a web developer. He's passionate about front-end development, of course. And he's been designing and developing since CSS2 was a thing. I also learned that Trevor plays guitar and is the guitarist on an album called Michael Barrow and the Tourists, which was distributed by Universal Records. So I'm sure someone here can probably find that, and we can all enjoy what that sounds like. Trevor.
Is that better? Oh, there we go. Like she said, my name is Trevor Harmon. I work for Shopify. And I'm here to tell you how to sell things fast with Gatsby and Shopify. So 3.5 trillion was the worldwide size of the e-commerce market. That's huge, right? And so obviously there's a huge opportunity to sell things. There's a study done that found that for every 100 milliseconds that it takes longer to load a website, you lose 7% of your customers. So that's not seconds, that's milliseconds, right? So let's take Amazon as a case study. In 2018, they made $232 billion in their annual revenue. If you were to slow down their site by 1 second, according to the study, they would have made $112 billion. That's less than half of the number they actually made. So obviously, speed is huge. I think I missed one thing, by the way. If there's one thing you take from this talk, it's this. It's that speed is the most important thing in e-commerce, and that Gatsby is super fast. It's kind of funny because I was like, wow, 97, and then they're showing like hundreds earlier. I guess my Gatsby site is one of the slower ones, I don't know. But this is out of the box, right? I mean, it is super, super fast out of the box. And e-commerce, it's all about speed, right? So Gatsby is one of the best frameworks you can use to get fast speed out of the box. I think Shopify is one of the best things you could use for e-commerce. I might be biased, but I'll tell you why. So 3 things, in addition to just like good UX. Number 1 is that Shopify is a platform. So it's not just a SaaS product that you go and log into. It's also something you can build on top of. So let's say that you want to make a new shop that sells custom mechanical keyboards. Well, you log in, you start making products, stuff like that. You might find that there's one thing you wish was different, one thing you wish you could tweak differently. Well, Shopify has probably thought of that in the sense of they created the app ecosystem, so you could probably go find an app that does it for you. So Shopify is a platform, then you can use apps to build on top of that. The second thing is the way it's priced. It's priced to scale with your business. The goal isn't to charge you as much as we can. The goal is to help you grow your business because we grow together. And the last thing is the Shopify Fulfillment Network. This was announced last year, and this will allow you to compete with Amazon as far as 2-day shipping goes. So say you own this keyboard shop here in LA, and you want to ship to somebody in New York. Well, 2-day shipping, just shipping from here to New York, is very expensive. So Shopify is creating a distributed network that you can keep your products in different places in the US and offer really fast shipping. So those are just 3 reasons. There's lots of reasons to love Shopify. I have more reasons than that. Those are just 3 quick reasons. Excuse me. So together, you get a super fast site with, in my opinion, the best e-commerce platform. So we've talked a lot about different things today, but I know the thing you came to hear today is about geese. So did you know that geese are excellent weeders? This is true, by the way. So as a side hustle, geese farmers will lend their geese to other farms, and the geese will weed those farms. It's crazy. Also, the original golf balls were stuffed with goose feathers. They're handmade, super, super expensive. Also, a male goose is called a gander. a group of geese is called a gaggle, and a baby goose is called a gosling. So why are we talking about geese, right? It's because I want to introduce you to my friend, Derek the goose farmer. So this is Derek. He's our friend. So he owns a goose farm, and business has been going pretty well, but he realized he wants to get into some kind of side hustle. And so he started talking to his friend who makes custom clothes, and that friend said, hey, what if we did a partnership? What if you and I made really, really good down jackets together, all right? We'll call this Only Down, and you provide the down, I provide the skills to make the jackets. So they together come to you and say, okay, we've heard that you can make super fast sites, and you can make selling things really fast online. Can you do this for us? So let's make them a store with Gatsby and Shopify. And as a side note, I'm just happen to be wearing my down jacket. It's just a coincidence. And this is not a real store, by the way. So after some design and some talking, this is the design you come up with. And you say, okay, what are the steps we got to do to build this design? Well, first we got to set up a Shopify store with all the necessary options. We need to pull data from Shopify into Gatsby, use that data to create pages, use the Shopify-provided plugin to facilitate the checkout experience, and then test it. So let's talk about Shopify. As part of this process, instead of talking to friends who work at Shopify, I said, what would it be like if I didn't work at Shopify and knew nothing about Shopify? So I kind of limited myself. I didn't get on Slack. I didn't talk to anybody directly. And just started this process as if I was just picking up from to start with. So the first question you're going to have is, do I need to do a store trial or maybe a Shopify partner account? Oh, there it is. Both are good options. Both are free to start with. Store trial will make you choose a plan after 14 days. It's perfect if you already know exactly what you want to sell. So if the custom keyboards thing is your jam and you already know you want to sell that and you're just ready to jump on in, store plan's great. But if you're trying to just test and play and kind of build, a Shopify partner account is great. It's primarily for those who want to build on top of Shopify. So I talked to a Shopify guru who's like our help people, and they said, yeah, this is a good choice for you. I signed up, I got myself a partner account, and started going. So there are a couple of things you're going to want to do. I'm not going to go into too deep of these things, but a couple of those things. One of those is the payment provider. So if you're doing this as a test basis, you want to set up the bogus gateway, which is their way of saying test payments. This lets you test the entire process from end to end without actually having to pay real money or give real credit card or things like that. You do this by going into the payment providers and looking at bogus gateway. The next thing is connecting Shopify to Gatsby. So, so for this, you'll need to create a new private app. This will let you access the APIs that you need for Gatsby. So you go to the apps, you create a new private app, you give it a name, and there are two checkboxes or three, I guess, that you need to check. The first is the storefront API checkbox, and under that there are two. There's the read product tags and read customer tags. I call these out because when I was doing this, I didn't check them. And then when I went to build in Gatsby, I got an error that I was like, what does this mean? So if you do this, it solves that error. So once you've done that, it'll spit you out an API key. This is what you're going to use to build in Gatsby. And then once you've done that, the next step is just to create products. So let me do one thing first. In this process, there is some specific Shopify language that might be confusing that I want to explain so that when you're doing this, you go, okay, this makes sense. It's the concept of products, variants, and options. Let's take the iPhone 11 Pro, for example. Let's pretend like Apple is going to release on Shopify an iPhone 11 Pro store. And they're thinking of, okay, what does our product look like? What are the different options it looks like? There's colors, right? Silver, gold, space, gray, the new midnight green. There's different sizes. They label them as normal and max, but we'll call them normal and max as options. And there's different storage sizes. For this, I'll just kind of pare this list down, and we'll pretend like there's only 2 colors, 2 sizes, and out of the goodness of their hearts, Apple's now giving us 512 for all of our iPhones, right? That's what I want. Let's lay out these options on a grid. Okay, so at the top, there is silver iPhones. At the bottom, there's gold iPhones. Left side is like the normal sized, and the right side is the large or max size. So these are options. These individual ones are variants. So the silver normal, that's a variant. The silver max, that's a variant. I call this attention because when you want to buy things from Shopify, they think in terms of variants and less in terms of products. Not like we don't think in terms of products, but the point is that when you go through this process, you're probably thinking, I need to make products, I need to make products. Be thinking about variants as well. So let me show you an example of this in Only Down store. Let's see, hopefully this is large enough. So I've gone ahead, I've created some products, and if you look at one specific product, the men's down jacket, I've got my images, and then here's this. These are the variants I've created. You see the options are colors and sizes, and then each jacket is its own variant. So there's a blue small, there's a green medium, there's a gray large. Each of those is a variant. All right, so now that we've done that, we're pretty much done with Shopify as far as like the setup steps. Next is to actually look at the data in Shopify. So let's see. Like most things, you use a source plugin, and you can pull data with this source plugin. It's the Gatsby source Shopify plugin. I just wanted to look at the data with y'all. So you're going to see that there are several Shopify-related things you can look at. There's the all Shopify collection, the blog, product, option, and variant. The blog and collection are basically like pretty like lightweight CMS type of things you can access. So if you want to have a blog on Shopify, you can access in Gatsby. There are lots of great options in addition to that for a blog on Gatsby. So we're going to focus on just the products and the options and the variants. So I want to show you what the data looks like. So let's look at the options first. Those are the simplest. And you're going to see, it always happens. Let's see. Oh, I got to get my notes. Mistake. So you're going to see that there are the name and the values. Really straightforward. So color, all the color values. The size, all the size values. So if I keep scrolling, you're going to see multiple size nodes. And then there's a reason for that. It's because every product, its own options are specific to that product. They're not shared. So if you create a shirt that's got small, medium, and large, and a jacket with small, medium, large, extra large, those aren't going to be shared somehow. They're going to be distinct. Let's look at the products now. Shopify product. So there's the ID. That's a Gatsby-generated ID. There's also the Shopify ID. Just be aware of that distinction. So there's things like title. There's things like description. There's the handle. The handle is like, it's a form of the title with dashes through it, so you can use it for a URL. And then you're going to see variants, like we mentioned. So let me throw these up with their titles. All right, so we're looking at the women's vest, and there's different variants. You see, the title, it describes the variant. So black small, gray small, etc. I keep doing that. Something to be aware of is a variance Shopify ID. So this is like probably the most important piece of data you get back in all of this, because this is the ID that lets you add an item to a cart. So as you're going through this, you want to look for this. So that's a kind of a quick tour of the data. It looks a lot like most of the Shopify, or excuse me, the Gatsby data, which I think is awesome. I think Gatsby's done a great job of creating something that feels familiar, even if you've never used it before, if you've ever used Gatsby. So if you've, like I've used Contentful for my blog. When I jumped into this, I felt like it felt familiar even though I'd never used it before. So once you're pulling data in, the next step is to create pages with Gatsby. Like most Gatsby things, you do that with a gatsby-node script. That's hopefully big enough. So my node script is really simple. I query for all the products. I get their Gatsby ID, and I get their handle. And then from there, I just create pages. And then I hand that handle to a URL, which is /product/ whatever it is, so women's jacket or men's jacket or whatever. And then I hand that product ID through to that page. So like this part of it is pretty straightforward. And I think that the code looks really similar to this on Gatsby's own like Shopify page. And then within that product page, I am doing a GraphQL query, and you can see all the different fields I'm asking for. So like the title, the description, all the options, all the variants, et cetera, including images. All of this worked with the default Gatsby stuff, like Gatsby image. It all works great together. So you don't have to go reaching for different stuff. You can just build like a normal Gatsby site. Let's check out what we have so far on the site. I've done some work, obviously. And I've got this landing page set up. I've got some products going. And it's really simple, just a title, some images, a description, basic stuff. I did a bit of extra legwork where if I click on an image, it changes the colored option for me. I think that was like a nice touch I wanted. So at this point, we are pulling data, but it doesn't do anything. Like if I go to add to the cart, nothing will happen because it's not talking to Shopify yet. So so far, I've interacted with this like a normal Gatsby source plugin. The next step is to use a plugin that Shopify provides to finish it out. So that's called Shopify by. Honestly, this is it basically does all your work for you. You turn it on, you use some methods, and then you basically have a working site. Really quick, the method you're going to care about, build client, it sets it up. Add line items, add something to a cart. Remove line items, remove something from a cart. Fetch lets you persist sessions for users, which means if I came to this site yesterday, I started adding some stuff to my cart, and then the next day I came back and bought it, I don't have to go re-add those things to the cart. It'll persist that session between those 2 days. And the last one is checkout.web URL. So what is happening is that Shopify, when it says, okay, you're ready to check out, it presents a Shopify checkout page. This is the standard checkout page for all Shopify sites. And the great thing is that at that point, you're handing off the responsibility to Shopify. And you don't have to worry about security or handling credit card numbers or any of that stuff. All of that complicates your site and makes you focus on all sorts of extra stuff. Don't worry about that. Let Shopify worry about that. Focus on making your site super fast, making the customer journey really good, et cetera. The best way to use this plugin, in my experience, is by wrapping your whole site in a React context thing, or React context wrapper. So if you've lost me, I understand. As a brief explanation, React context is a way to share information globally if you want it to. So I think of it as a container. I'm putting Shopify by as the container on my entire site. And then when I'm ready, I say, okay, Shopify by, please add this to my cart. And then it goes and adds it to the cart and says, okay, it did the thing. And so I don't have to worry about what's happening behind the scenes. I just have to say, okay, do this, cool, that's done, we're done, let's check out. So I wanted to show you a quick demo of what that looks like as far as what it's coded up. So if you've ever used React context, you set it up with initial values. So I'm basically setting up with initial values. I'm also creating the Shopify client. From there, I create the context. All that's happening here is basically saying, hey, did they come here yesterday? please check if they did, and if they did, go grab their session. Otherwise, just create it for me. I do that kind of on load or on start. And then I can use React hooks, or I could use other methods. React hooks is kind of the most straightforward, in my opinion, to go and grab that data. So I'm like, okay, well, give me the store object, or tell me how many items are in the cart, or figure out the cart totals for me so I don't have to do that work somewhere else. So I've got this use add item to cart. I wanted to show what that looks like because it's one of the most fundamental steps of this. So far, all it's doing is nothing. And this hook returns a function that says, okay, I need the variant ID. Like I mentioned that earlier, the variant ID is really important, and the quantity. So what would this look like if I was actually going to make this work? Well, first, I need to get access to some of the stuff in my context, in the wrapper. So I'll say const store equals use context. Whenever I type in front of people, all sense of spelling goes away. Okay, so I've got access to my store, or my the object that handles everything for me. I need to check to see if variant ID exists, if it's not blank. So I'll say, okay, oops, is this not blank? Or is quantity parse and if that's more than 0, because I don't want 0 things in my cart. Otherwise, if one of those is a problem, just get out of here, right? We could do something else, but we'll just get out of there. So next, I need the checkout ID. The checkout ID is just a reference to which session this user's on. So checkout ID equals store.client.checkout.id. As a side note, all this is on GitHub, so if you're trying to record it or something, just look at it afterwards. I also need to set up an array, line items. Basically just what am I putting in my cart? From there, I get to let Shopify do all the work for me. So I'm going to say client add line item to, oops, it'd be add line items. And then I'm going to say with this checkout ID and these line items. So what is happening here is I'm saying, okay, Shopify, I've figured out the variant ID of the thing they want to buy. I figured out the quantity, and I have figured out if they have session or not. Here's the IDs. Now go do the thing for me. So once that happens, it'll return to see if, return a new object to say, okay, it did the thing. And I need to actually do one more thing. I need to make sure that it actually works. And hopefully it does. What I'm doing right here is that I am setting in local state the new object that we're going to get back. Okay, here's the moment of truth. Did it actually work? I don't think it did. I think it actually broke. Well, it's a good thing that I have an extra hook just floating around just in case I couldn't live code. And it's like Stack Overflow, copy and paste, you know how it is. So let's try that again. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, yeah, that works. I've shown kind of end to end, okay, here, we're now at the very end of what we need to worry about. If I hit checkout, it's going to open a link that Shopify worries about for me. If I zoom out, it'll make it a little easier. And this is a link to my store's checkout. It's already got the right items in the cart. And now Shopify is worrying about things like personal identifying information. It's worrying about credit card numbers, all those things. And you get to just sit back and let the money come in. It's great. So right now we're yeah, we've done this. We're flowing good. Only down is up and running, right? Well, what's next? Right now we only get the quantity or the inventory on build time, that's not very good. So we probably should go and fetch that on load. So if they go to the page, it checks to see if it's in stock. Also, it doesn't support quantity at all. Everything's hard-coded to 1, which is kind of bad. I can't just buy multiple things at one time. Or I could also check to see the location to get an estimate of how much tax they would owe on this order. Those are things I could do if I had more time. So at the end of the day, this is what makes the most sense, or the most important thing is speed, right? Like, you're building on top of Gatsby, and you're building a store on top of Gatsby because it is super fast. And the faster you can build a store, the faster you can sell. So if you've had questions, if you had things you're wondering about, I have a live demo right now on Netlify you can go look at. The source code is up on GitHub as well. And if you have questions, you can just ping me on Twitter. I'm happy to talk about this at all. I'll probably be releasing some blog articles about this. If you have more questions or things you want to read about, I'll be talking about it. So thank you.